Hey guys, welcome back to ProductNation, and in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Razer Huntsman Mini. This is a 60% keyboard, which does away with a lot of those function keys that some people really hate and some people really like. So in this video, we're going to figure out whether or not it's useful when it comes to day-to-day gaming and even productivity. So let's get started. So what you get out of a 60% keyboard essentially is it does away with the function row entirely. You get rid of the numpads entirely and also the arrow keys up and down. What you are left with is the bare bones of what a keyboard consists of, which is the keys for typing, obviously, the number row, and then these function keys, which are like tab, caps lock, shift, control, all that stuff. What is the point of a 60% keyboard? Why would you want to do away with all of those keys? Well, there's a couple of reasons. The first one obviously is more real estate. If you're a gamer and you play with a lower sensitivity on your mouse, you want to be able to fling your arm around and move around freely without bumping into your keyboard every now and then. So for competitive gaming, I feel like a 60% keyboard is good enough. The second point about why this is very popular is because of the portability and the carryability. If you're an esports gamer or someone who travels a lot with your keyboard, plays at different locations, this may be the best setup because of the size of it, the weight of it, it's quite light as well. So you can take it about anywhere you go. It runs on USB Type-C, which is replaceable, so you can pretty much use any USB-C cable. And the third one, which has nothing to do with gaming or usability and portability, is just having a nicer, clean, minimalistic setup for your desk. Your desk setup looks a lot cleaner because of the amount of portion it takes in your desk. You can keep more things, you want to artsy, whatever, or you want to make it minimalistic. It's a really nice setup, and the way it looks aesthetically is really cool as well. It comes in two variants, you get the white and the black. The one we have is the black one, and it looks very nice, fits in anywhere, especially if you pair it with a Razer mouse. You get those synced colors if you use the Razer Synapse application, and it's really great. It works really well. Very nice minimalistic setup. Now, just because you don't have the function keys, the arrow keys, and the print screens, page down, and all that stuff, does not mean that they don't exist entirely and you can't access them. If you use the function key as a shortcut, you can pretty much access them the same way. Now, I like my keyboard flat like this, but if you're more of an inclined person, you get the option to turn on a 6-degree incline, which basically puts it at a 6-degree incline. Or if you want it a little bit more, you can go all the way up to 9 degrees in inclination, and then you get that nice tilted inclined look to it. So yeah, I mean, some people prefer it this way. To me, I prefer it flat on the ground because I use it for gaming and I'm usually sitting like that. But I think if you're using it more for typing, then the 9 degree is actually quite nice depending on your desk setup. These use the Razer Optical switches, which means your actuation is the fastest you can get. Now, the general rule of thumb is mechanical switches feel more comfortable to use. That's why getting an optical switch to feel comfortable is a little bit of a challenge, but these do feel very comfortable to use, even though they're optical switches. Now, something you need to note about the keys as well that's kind of interesting is the fact that it's made out of PVT plastic. And a lot of keyboards have this issue over time where certain keys which you use most often, especially gamers would know this, the WASD, they kind of wear out over time and you get that fade away of the keys. You won't really leave any residue on this because of the finishing material. So it's going to last a lot longer essentially. You can get the Clicky or the linear type. Now, talking about the Clicky itself, the difference that we have from the previous generation is when you used to type mechanically, the clicky sound, previously you'd get a little bit of a pinging sound every time you press down on a key. With this generation of the keycap, they've added a silicone diffuser for the sound, so basically it allows for dampening and you don't get that metallic pinging sound that resonates. Now, still talking about the actual sound itself, for the actuation, when it comes to the actuation for the Clicky, there's a moment where if anyone has used a Clicky keyboard before, you know that connection establish of when you've pressed down the key, there's a... Yeah, you're gonna hear that in the sound test, but there's that moment where when you click it down, you can feel that the actuation has taken place. When it comes to typing, that may be really great as a typing experience for a lot of people. You want to feel that feedback on your fingers, but when it comes to the linear, you don't feel any kind of resistance or a signal that you've pressed down on the key. It's a very dampened way of pressing down on a key. Speaking of actuation force, when it comes to that of the Clicky, you have a 45-gram actuation force and a 1.5 millimeter actuation distance, while the linear has a 40-gram actuation force and a 1 millimeter actuation distance. The linear is a lot easier to actuate than the Clicky is. Now, you can get separate keycaps for these as well if you want to customize them to make them look like your own. If you have a certain aesthetic you want to go for, they have different colors. We're going to put that up on screen for you guys as well. But one thing to note is that you're not going to get these shortcuts for the function key support on these separately sold keycaps. Another thing you need to remember is that there's no onboard storage on this, so whatever changes you make in the Synapse application are going to be stored to your account itself on Synapse. So if you plug it into a different computer, you won't just automatically have your customization saved. You need to get the Synapse app, log in, and then you'll have your customization saved. So when it comes to the lighting of the RGB on the keyboard, you have 7 different modes of lighting. Number 1 would be no light whatsoever. So if you're a boring person who doesn't like colors or lights, you can turn that off and have it just completely old school looking. The second one, what you have is a static color that's just gonna stay there. Third one, this is gonna be a strobing sort of effect, so it turns off and then on, off and then on, singular light. The fourth one is a color cycle where it basically goes through all the different colors of the rainbow. The fifth one is gonna be the rainbow lighting where all the lights just sort of go over it. This is the most general one that you'll see. The sixth one, each key that you press down on is only gonna light up individually. So if you're typing, it just lights up those selective keys. And the seventh one is gonna be your starry light effect where it just randomly lights up different keys. Here's a quick little sound test. So all in all, like I said, the basic reason to get a 60% keyboard is if you're not really using all these other things, or you want a more aesthetic, pleasant looking setup, you're more of a minimalist and you like that smaller sized keyboard. I prefer the 60% keyboard over all the other keyboards because what I'm using it for is essentially just gaming, and it just makes a lot more sense for me to have more real estate to move my mouse around. When it comes to choosing between clicky or linear, that is definitely a preferential thing. If you like the sound of the clicky, definitely go for the clicky. But if you want more actuation and a quieter, more immersive feel to it, I would go for the linear because that's just who I am. We're gonna leave all the links in the description so you guys can check that out as well. So that's about it, guys. That is our review of the Razer Huntsman Mini. Really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and do consider subscribing for more content just like this. And we'll see you again in the next video. Bye-bye.